Flatline. More like dead on arrival. Just like this joke. Hello everyone, I'm PapaKenn and welcome to episode 95 of Discovering Doctor Who. Just 5 episodes away from 100! Oh my god! Anyway, before I get into this, I just want to say that yes, I did forget to include a few things in the previous episode talking about Mummy on the Orient Express. There were 2 very awesome lines from the Doctor that I forgot to mention. I apologize for that. You all know what they are because they've been mentioned multiple times in the comments. But also, I did not realize that those were jelly babies in the case that the Doctor had. That was really cool. I should have actually posed that in a question in the review, but I didn't. But anyway, that's not the episode I'm talking about right now. The episode I'm going to be talking about today is Flatline, as you saw in that ridiculous intro sequence. But yes, let's get started with my favorite parts of the episode. Starting with the final shot of the intro, that final scene where it's like, that final shot where it gets close to the wall. And so, until it's like, all we see is like a very close angle, and then we see like, the guy that just got eaten's face. And that moment right there was just so creepy. It was so well done. It's just like, when I saw that, I was just like, oh my god. Urgh. In that exact tone. Not kidding. Not exaggerating at all. But yeah, that's just like, that last shot right there really set a good tone for this episode and just got me invested immediately. Like at first, with the guy calling on the phone or whatever, that was interesting. It was, it was tense. Kind of a little bit let down by the person on the other end of the phone. Like, it seems like, it sounded like they had just been picked up on, or they just picked up and nothing was said at all. Like, they didn't seem concerned at all or anything, especially since they heard a scream. But yeah, just that ending, that very end of the intro there just made the introduction. Really just, it got me invested in the episode, and it was really, really good. Alright, moving on to my second favorite part of the episode, the Tardis, or more specifically, the Great Shrinking Tardis of Flatline. Every time it got a little bit smaller, and it's like, just the way that they portrayed it was so well done. Just the camera work with that. It's like basically we have the Doctor and Clara, and eventually just the Doctor, looking directly at the camera. And the first time, we're just kind of like, okay, well, what's with this view? But then we see that the TARDIS has shrunk, which was hilarious by itself. But then the second time, when it's just the Doctor in the TARDIS, and he goes back and he's just like, oh no. It's like, didn't even have to see the TARDIS, just immediately I was cracking up because I was thinking, oh my god, it's even smaller now. I can't wait to see how small it is. And just the way it went through was awesome. It was really well done. I enjoyed that so much. And then we get to this point where all that's left is basically this cube. I guess that was the siege mode, whatever it is, of for the TARDIS. And I don't know. It's like some of you all that are more knowledgeable about, Doctor Who, especially in Classic, may have a better idea of what was going on there. But was that almost like the TARDIS took on the form of a like one of those communication cubes, like what the Doctor got back in The Hungry Earth? Is that the right one? Or the Doctor's wife? The Doctor's wife. Yeah, is that what was going on there, or was it just just a interesting little thing where the TARDIS happened to get to the size of a little cube? But that was really cool, really interesting, and the way that it got brought back to its normal size was really well done, really clever. I'm going to touch on that more coming up, but let's move on to my third favorite part of the episode, which was Dr. Clara. I just loved the way that Jenna Coleman emulated some of the Doctor's quirks. and just really brought it out in the character Clara, and it worked so well. It worked in such a hilarious, funny way, especially when it came to the back and forth with the Doctor communicating with Clara, and then Clara, interacting with Rigsy. I think that's how you say his name. Rigsy, yeah. And the others. I loved the idea and just the way they pulled off Dr. Clara. Absolutely love it. So yeah, that's all you need to know about that. Moving on, my fourth favorite part of the episode is the 2Ds / the Boneless. These creatures, they're original for sure, and just the way they were pulled off in all their forms, when they were 2D and then when they went 3D, like, it was consistently creepy. It was really well done. And just this idea that there are these creatures that, obviously we do find out a way that they can kind of sort of communicate, but yeah, it's just, they were some of the most threatening, scary creatures that we've encountered in Doctor Who in a long time, in my opinion. The return of the Daleks to form was definitely impressive, and they were definitely threatening, but as far as pure just like, oh my god factor goes, these were I'm trying to remember, did the angels come first or did the midnight? I was like, basically, these were the most threatening, scary creatures that have come about since the original appearance of the angels and whatever it was on the planet Midnight. Just so well done, really good. Really, really enjoyed those characters. Part of me does kind of hope we see them again in the future, but given what happened, that may not happen. But who knows? Someone may come up with a good story that can bring them back and have it done well, hopefully. But moving on from there, it's time for my fifth and final favorite part of this episode. Or, well, actually it's not really the end of my favorites, just this particular list. And that favorite part is the Doctor. Now, I've enjoyed this Doctor from his first episode. It's like, it took a little bit of, just a little bit of growing on me, but from the beginning, I enjoyed him, I found him entertaining, and I found Peter Capaldi to really encapsulate the Doctor. But in this episode, at the very end, when the Tardis is returned back to its original size and he banishes the Boneless, that scene right there, that's a scene that Eccleston had, that's a scene that Tennant had multiple times, and that's a scene that Matt Smith had at the very beginning, or both Tennant and Smith had in their first episodes. Eccleston had, in a few parts throughout his series, whatever. But, I don't know, I could be wrong here, but it seems like Capaldi never really had that epic moment, just like that staring down the enemy moment. And he got it in this episode, and it just, like, for me, it finally brought it full circle. The Doctor, again, the Doctor has felt like the Doctor, Peter Capaldi has felt like the Doctor to me for, most of this series, for sure. But the moment at the end of this episode right here just, again, brought it full circle. It's like, he truly is the Doctor to me now. Like, there's no, even a shadow of a doubt. Just that moment right there was so friggin' good. Absolutely loved it. Now, again, there are at least one more favorite of this episode, but it's going to be kind of scattered throughout because I kind of have to space it out. Give me some room to breathe, okay? I can't just put everything in a fine sorted list. I don't know why I'm talking like that. Let's move on to my annoyances with this episode, or it's kind of an annoyance / annoyances, kind of, sorta. But anyway, basically, my annoyance with the episode is that, especially in the beginning and a bit in the end, the very obvious, as I put it, LOL, Clara's lying dialogue. When she's lying to the Doctor about Danny being okay with it and acting all panicked and not natural. It just felt cartoonish to me, the way that they had her pull it off, or the way that they had her do that. And don't get me wrong, Jenna Coleman does a great job. I don't think I've seen her do any bad acting, really, in the show yet, but just the way that segment was written and the way they had her perform that, it felt so cartoony and silly and unnecessary. Like, why can't Clara just be, kept together. And it's just like, straight-faced lying, because it's not until later anyway that the doctor really notices something that tips him off that Clara's lying. So it bothers me when you have that. Like, it's something that belongs in the show Friends, or just another comedy show where it's like, someone's lying and they act all silly. You expect that, and I guess to an extent you kind of expect it in this show too. But it just feels like it would have been more effective had they not done that LOL Clara's lying dialogue. But that's just me. And then kind of an extension of that is just the fact that the lies continue. And I know it's part of the plot. I know it's that they're building up to something. But it still just annoys me. And it may be something that's going to be addressed in the following episodes. But still, I find the silly, unnecessary lying unnecessary and silly. So yeah, that's about the best way I can possibly put it. Alright, now, I do also have a well that happened moment, or well, just a well that happened in general. And it's the crew that Rigsy is working with. Or I guess you include Rigsy in the crew as well. But I was very neutral on the crew and felt like they weren't really necessary. Like, I liked Rigsy. Don't get me wrong. I liked him and his character. But if you put them all together, it's like the others felt unnecessary, except for maybe the one that had no imagination, just because it led for a pretty good joke with, him seeing the psychic paper as blank. And then it's like, him being one of the ones that survives at the end, and, was it the doctor? Maybe it was Clara. Someone says it's like, not everyone survives that you think should, or not everyone that's... Whatever it is, basically. It's like, he was the only other one that kind of came close to seeming like a character that was really needed in the slightest. But yeah, for the most part, just the crew seemed unnecessary, and it was just some more of those throwaway characters that, they might survive, they might not, who knows? But... yeah, so I was just very neutral on them overall. Again, except for Rigsy. Rigsy was the one that, could have and should have been there the whole time, and was. But the others, just not really necessary in the end. So yeah. Alright, now, if you have any of your own favorites, annoyances, and or well that happened moments, please do let me know in the comments down below. I'm looking forward to what you might have to say. Any other favorite parts that you might have, any other annoyances? I know, especially since, not everyone is a huge fan of Clara, so maybe some of your annoyances will be Clara, Dr. Clara, which was one of my favorite parts. So, yeah, I'm interested to see if anyone has different views on that. I'm sure there will be at least a few, but yeah, looking forward to seeing that in the comments. But alright, it's time for my track of the episode, and this is one of those episodes that had very few tracks available. There were two. And the first one I heard, I actually don't remember what it was called, but it was, the first track of this episode was dark and creepy, but it didn't really stand out. Like, it almost seemed like your typical background music for a horror setting, which, again, suits the episode just fine, but it didn't really stand out. But then I heard the second track, Siege Mode, and that entire track, it's like, I wouldn't say it's a huge standout by far, but the track itself is just, it's very powerful, very intense, and yet sorrowful at the same time. I really liked it. So yeah, that one it definitely stood out to me from the beginning to the end. It's only about, I want to say, 1 minute and 20 seconds, maybe 1 minute and 30 seconds. But yeah, go, if you haven't heard it already, go check out Siege Mode. It's a pretty darn good track, in my opinion. Alright, now moving on from there, it is time for my quote of the episode, and this is going to be one of those where I just put, a little bit of text and read the quote itself to you. But it's... And again, this is one of those episodes that had some really good quotable lines, some really funny lines that I almost pick. But the quote that I picked is probably the one that you are all expecting. So, I hate to be predictable, but my quote of the episode is the Doctor's monologue when the Tardis is restored and he steps out and he confronts the Boneless. I tried to talk. I want you to remember that. I tried to reach out. I tried to understand you, but I think you understand us perfectly. I think you just don't care. I don't know if you're here to invade, infiltrate, or just replace us, but I don't suppose it really matters now. You are monsters. That is the role it seems you're determined to play, so it seems I must play mine. the man that stops the monsters. I'm sending you back to your own dimension. Who knows? Some of you may even survive the trip. And if you do, remember this. You are not welcome here. This plane is protected. I am the Doctor, and I name you the Boneless. Yeah, that was that moment I was talking about earlier, that it was Capaldi's moment. Just like, that intense moment facing down the enemy that the other Doctors got to have. And again, at least in my opinion, he hadn't got to do in this series so far. And it's such a good quote. It's such a good monologue, and I absolutely love it. But yeah, if you have any of your own favorite quotes of the episode other than the monologue, please do let me know. Because again, like I said, there were a lot of really good lines that were, they almost made it, at the very least, in as honorable mentions. But like, I knew this was the one that had to be the quote of the episode in the end. So yeah, there you go. Now, before I get into my overall thoughts, I do have a theory. And it references one of my other favorite parts of this episode, which is Missy. That last scene with Missy, oh my god! But my theory is, and I think this kind of confirmed it with what Missy said, in that she chose well. And it's that Missy is the woman that gave Clara the Doctor's number. I don't know. I don't know if that basically just kind of spelled it out and I'm being kind of dense or what, but it's like, in my mind, that it's almost like that scene kind of confirmed it for me. But until I find out for sure, my theory is that Missy is the one that gave Clara the Doctor's number. Maybe it was one of her subordinates, I don't know, but that is my idea, is that it was Missy that gave Clara the Doctor's number. Midna just jumped down and moved my stuff. But yes, anyway. Alright, so, yeah, don't answer that one. Don't be truthful. Don't say yes or no. If you want to have fun with it, that's fine, but don't say yes or no, because I want to wait until, I have 3 episodes left at this point. I want to find out on my own whether or not that theory is correct. I'm pretty sure it's right, as I am with one of my other theories as to who Missy might be, but I want to wait and see myself. But alright. Now, as for my overall thoughts on this episode, let me reference what I suppose you might call my 7th favorite part of the episode, and that is Jamie Matheson, or however you say his name, the writer of this episode and the previous one, Mummy on the Orient Express. He has written 2 of the best episodes that has come from Doctor Who that I've seen in quite a while. There have been some great episodes. There have been some really good, awesome episodes, but these 2 right here, especially in Series 8, are the best episodes of this series by far. Like, Flatline just kind of inches out on Mummy on the Orient Express, but both of them were very well done. They were the 2 episodes that, watching, as soon as it was done, I wanted to watch them again. Like, I immediately wanted to watch the episodes again because I enjoyed them that much. And there have been a few, lately that have kind of made me feel that way, but I've never been so enthusiastic as to want to watch the episode immediately after. And they were just really, really well done. So, do I like this episode? Hell yes, I love this episode. This episode was really, really good. It had so many good elements to it. So little negative that, the whole, obvious Clara's lying dialogue. Could you have a bigger nitpick? Really? I admit it's something that bugs me, but it is a nitpick. So there you go. But yeah, just this episode, they should have been 2-parters. They're unrelated almost completely, except for the lying aspect. But Flatline and Mummy on the Orient Express are just, like I said, 2 of the absolute best episodes of this series so far. And I cannot wait to see what episodes Jamie Matheson might write coming up in the future. I don't know if he probably isn't writing any more for this series, but, coming Series 9, whatever his episode may be, or episodes, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they might be. So yeah. Can you tell I'm excited? Because I am. But alright, everyone, thank you so much for joining me for 95 plus episodes of Discovering Doctor Who so far. As of this recording, I think the last I saw on the subscription box was 996, or maybe it was 997 subscribers. Thank you all. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. To be so close to 1,000 subscribers, to be so close to 1,000 subscribers, it blows my mind. It absolutely blows my mind. And I thank every single last one of you for joining along, subscribing, and watching these videos. Sharing them with people if you have. Thank you so very much. But it's time to move on. It's time to get into the next episode, In the Forest of the Night. And I might have kind of fibbed a little bit earlier, because I have actually already watched In the Forest of the Night. And as for what I think of it, well,